Welcome back to the program. This is News Center right here on KTN News on this Mashujaa Day, the 20th day of October 2017. Of course, this is a celebration that comes at a very unique moment, at a time when the country is in some sort of a political crisis. The presidential rerun was slated to take place on October 26th. But NASA leader Raila Odinga, is of course the main opposition leader, has withdrawn from the rest. Yesterday he had a meeting with the IBC chairman where we're getting reports that he had dropped some of the tough stance that he had. So what is the president going to say today in his address to the nation? We do expect him to address the nation at Uhuru Park grounds right in the capital, Nairobi. Of course, that is an event that we're going to bring it to you live once it starts. So let me continue with our studio discussion right here in our studios. And I think, Ambassador, I've spoken to you. Let me just pose the same question before we even talk about elections and why they're very emotive in this country. You've seen the expectations from Kenyans. You know, they're all waiting anxiously to see not just what the president is going to say, but what the NASA leader is also going to say, because this is a very interesting moment in this country.
It is the way I found people talk at Uhuru Park. And also, I've seen people talk in Kisumu just about the tug of war there is in this country that will not give us a good government, a government that is acceptable to the other side. And when it is not acceptable, it is another 5 years until the next election, if we are going to be there in 2022. So the point is, it should be a situation. We have seen where we have come from. Last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. We might be going to 2007. We don't want to do that. So what we should be having today is that get-together around the Mashujaa Day, a day that goes to 1952. And before that, we even got other Mashujaas before that. It's very easy for people to be born today and to think there are no other heroes except themselves. So we go back into the beginning of colonialism. We can go back into the history of the black people. We don't want to do that today. But it is basically their day. So what I think would be important today is to agree that we are going to have a national conference where our people from both sides, the people in the middle, the people who got something positive to say about this country, will have an opportunity. We should not be in a hurry about it, you see. 26th of October. It is only 5 days away.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we might not be able to solve a problem in 5 days. They are bigger and they are more fundamental than 5 days.
Ambassador Jack, you've served in the Electoral Commission before, that is ECK. And election, I think, should be a moment when people should be looking forward to, because it's the time when voter has a power to either elect in or leave out any leader that they want to remove from power. So why do you think elections in this country are always emotive? I think it's only 2002 when this country didn't have problems.
Thank you. Elections in Kenya have been very emotive. And I want to believe that the main reason why our elections are the way they are is that our elections are not about policies. 2, our elections are not about values. Our elections are about who gets into the granary. And once you get into the granary, how much do you dish out to your cronies? You close out everybody else. You are in the granary, and you focus on a few people who supported you. Not even tribe, because even when you talk about tribes, I think we're making a mistake. When we say Kenyatta is in charge, we are assuming that all the Kikuyus are benefiting. I think that is a misnomer. We think that perhaps all the Kalenjins are benefiting because Ruto is where they is. That is a misnomer.
So are you blaming both sides of the political divide, or just
both sides? I'm talking about both sides. I think I'm talking about all the sides. So until such a time as we come to say what are the values, what party, first of all, let's organize the parties. By the way, when I was in ECK, we conceived this idea of having a strong registrar of political parties. The reason why was that we get a strong registrar, give him sufficient resources so that he can be in charge of registering political parties, monitoring the functioning of political parties, ensuring that the political parties are not regional, they are not tribal, they cover the whole country. That could have given us some philosophy so that we know that we have political parties that are representative of the other. So, as I say, It is emotive because it is about eating. Until we move out and say we get people who are going to focus on developing the country to deny themselves and focus on the country, we're still going to have these emotive elections because people want to get there, to get tenders, and ours is corruption, to get into the corruption system so that you can grab as much as you can for yourself, not for the other people.
Wanyeri, Ambassador clearly is blaming both sides of the political divide. Do you agree with them?
I totally agree with the Ambassador. Mashujaa Day should be about the heroes of our economy and the heroes of our politics in a positive way. People will have contributed to a better country, better hospitals, better school, better output. Europe, China, America, Russia, they are about production. That is what competition is about, and that is what countries are about. So in the last 50 years, we have ended up with more ignorant people. Let me tell you, in this country, when we had 7 million people at independence, now we have got more ignorant people, people who cannot read and write in this country, than we had at independence. So it is about...
But there are a lot who can read and write, and they have very toxic comments on it, especially when it comes to social media now.
You see, also our education has become so primitive. Our education has become very primitive. It is just about abuse. It's about putting other people down. It is not about, like the nurses. Do you really go into the question? Why should people be on strike? So fundamental and very important people, like nurses, for 5 months. People who have had such a commitment to our people, to medicine, the oath they take, and they have found it impossible to work. Who now is thinking about the Mashujaa nurses who have been there 5 months, continuing to say no? You should be going into it and looking why is it so. Whether the teachers, whether it is the lecturers, that is how it has become. They are the only way people can now speak to government. So that is why I'm saying this should be a day of national reconciliation.
Ambassador
the other thing to add on elections.
Yes.
Our elections are, I think, the most expensive currently in the world. And why? Because we imagine we can seal some loopholes by doing A, B, C, D.
But that doesn't seem to be the
putting
case.
Security measures on a ballot paper so that it costs us, is it 20 shillings per paper or something like that?
And there are others which have been printed and they're expected to be in the country tonight.
It is
so if the presidential reading doesn't take place on October 26th, there's a possibility they might go ahead and print others?
Okay.
That will make it more expensive.
It will make it even more expensive, and we even don't know, because after this election, someone will go to court so that perhaps we have another election. We don't know about that. But I'm saying the expenses of our elections are too high. 50 billion Kenya shillings spent on elections because we are trying to seal loopholes which are not supposed there. I have observed elections in many countries, both in Europe, Asia, and Africa. And in some of the countries in Europe where I've observed elections, really you get and the officials, most of them are volunteers. You get 3-4 people manning a station, and they are honest. What we lack is honest, therefore we make elections very expensive. When I'm talking about the 50 billion, that is the money that goes to the Electoral Commission. How much money, if we were brave and honest to compute, is the president using the incumbency spending on a campaign? Perhaps it could be another 50 plus billion. And like my brother has said, the nurses are looking for only 7 billion to go and help those poor nurses, to go and help those children who are not being inoculated. And very soon we are going to have very many problems with the children who will not have been inoculated in time. I mean, it is sad.
And of course, Ambassador, there are those who come from the school of thought. Of course, it is a reality that election is not a one-day affair. It's a process. So it requires time before we get to the ideal situation you're talking about.
Right.
But at this moment, at this hour, the country is in a crisis. Okay? We don't know whether the country is going to have that October 26th presidential rerun. One of the opposition leaders, actually the main opposition leader, Raila Odinga, withdrew. You've seen the chairman's statement. You've seen the statement from one of the commissioners who resigned from the commission. Clearly, we are seeing a sharply divided commission in place. Moving forward, do you think Kenyans are going to trust this commission in the first place? Let me hear his and then I'll come.
Kenyans can trust the commission if the commission trusts itself. But we're at a stage where the commission doesn't seem to trust itself. How do they expect trust from us if they're not trusting themselves?
That would further throw the country into a crisis.
It is indeed that you can see already. We are looking at the commission from the outside, and we have seen basically what has happened and has gone into the public domain. And it's like it is no longer there. And we don't want to go into this election on the 26th. That is going to compound the problems. Let us cut the losses that are about to come, political and even economic. Maybe economic. They are more difficult now to cut because the ballots have been printed. But you can be able to stop. You can be able to say, this is not going to resolve the problems we have in this country because we have gone on and on and on, and we took a wrong turn, and we continue going in the wrong direction. Just stop.
Actually, if you look at developments in DRC, they also have a problem, but the Electoral Commission have come forward and said that they need an extra 504 days to conduct an election. So the next time they'll have an election is in 2019. Of course, Kenya is not yet there, but clearly we are in a crisis. We are heading in a very difficult situation. Ambassador Jack, from your experience, what do you think will be the end game here?
From 26, what I'm foreseeing is that since it is not likely to be a free, fair, and credible elections, I'm seeing the possibility of someone going to court. Again. And if someone were to go to court, I'm also seeing the possibility of the court coming up to say that election was not free, fair, credible, transparent.
Speaking about the court, Jubilee already wants the Supreme Court to stop Raila from disrupting the October 26th poll. Let me just take you through the quote here from Jubilee. They're saying the petition reads, of course, the same petitioner, that is Raila Odinga, who sought this order, have now embarked on a calculated scheme, including the use of violence and threats of a lawful sabotage of the election, all in an effort to ensure that fresh elections set for October 26th does not take place. I mean, the IBC chair has already called for dialogue between these two individuals, Raila and Uhuru. But with this kind of, back and forth between these two main political parties, do you expect to see like a fruitful kind of conversation?
These are the people the ambassador talked about. They are hangers-on who are just looking for an opportunity of aggravating. Hangers-on who have got gallons and gallons of fuel to put on the fire. And that the people are making a lot worse off. Going for a petition to preempt an election that is going to come, say, in 5 days. Who are you? You have no other business to do other than agitate around the issue about elections now. What we are saying is, let us have this situation looked at again. And it is important to cut losses. Raila has got a history in this country, whether you like it or not. The fact that he might have a name that does not come from your clan, you just put it on one side. It does not help. We are talking about a person who has got the same rights like you have in this country. And it is not a question of stopping elections without reason. Nobody will have a following without there being good reason why people follow him. And just look at the outcome of the elections. Look at the coast. There was no Jubilee elections. Everybody was elected ODM in the coast all along, all the way up to Lamu. So when you look at Middle Kenya, you look at Western Kenya, these are people with a presence. NASA has got a presence that cannot just be wished away. So that is why it is important.
So they have a significant majority.
They have got a big majority. That's what he said.
Ambassador Jack, once again, let me just pose this question again and play back to you. With the experience, I'm sure you have a lot of experience when it comes to politics in this country. With this kind of situation, what do you think will be a solution?
Mheshimiwa has just alluded to something that I think has to be done. And you asked me when we started, and you asked what I wish the president could say. Let me now
and this will serve as your final comment.
Let me marry it with what he has said. If the president were to come up today and say, this is Mashujaa Day, recognize the fact that the country is not stable, because you cannot only treat a disease if you identify it. You can only solve a problem if you identify it. But if you were to see what is happening and say the country is having problems, and say whether with or without election on 26, we are going to have a national discussion on the Kenya we want. how do we move from here? I think to me that will solve a lot of problems, and it may put some water on the burning fuel.
It sounds like dialogue to me. Your final comment.
My comment is to remember Mashujaa, who have been in this country for a long time, and we might try sometimes forget them because of the heat of the movement. People like Makatilili Wamenza, 1913, fighting for Griama lands. Ojijo Kotaiko in Kisumu, going into detention, never coming back. Otenyo in Kisi, being killed by North Kota district commissioner, 1913. Koitalea Lalap Samoy, Bilodad Kagia, Koigiwa Mwere, Charles Rubia, John Haminwa, and Elijah Maside. I can only stop there for the time being, and I hope I get another opportunity to come back and continue with the list.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wanyeri Kihoro. He's the chairman of the Independence Movement. He was also a former Nyeri Town Member of Parliament. He also doubles up as a lawyer and economist. Thank you very much for your input, as well as Ambassador Jack Tumwa, who served as a commissioner in now defunct ECK. Thank you, both of you gentlemen, for your input.
We are very grateful for the invite.
You're welcome. Now, of course, this is News Center right here on KTN News. It is Mashujaa Day, and at this hour, the celebration is about to officially start at Uhuru Park right in the capital, Nairobi. That is where President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected any moment from now to address the nation. There is also another parallel Mashujaa Day celebrations in the lakeside city of Kisumu by NASA leader Raila Odinga. According to a statement from NASA, they've set aside this day to remember the victims who've been killed or who have, the victims of police brutality. The Kenya Human Rights Commission had put the number 34. So he has taken this time to condole with the families who lost their loved ones. Of course, it's not just these two cities who are marking these celebrations. We also have our reporter Francis Mtalaki, the coastal city of Mombasa. Of course, that is another NASA stronghold. The celebration have to be marked. It is a national celebration. Now, just to tell us more what is happening on the ground at this hour, at this moment, we're now joined by Francis Mtalaki. Francis, good morning, and what more can you tell us from Mombasa? Mtalaki, can you hear me? Well, it seems we have a communication problem there, but Francis is keeping tabs for us there in Mombasa. Those are live pictures from Mombasa there, even as the people from the coast there prepare to mark this very, very important day in the country's calendar. But it's coming at a very interesting moment. The country is in a political crisis. You know, the electoral body has come out openly saying that they cannot promise a credible election. But they are still going on with the preparations for that October 26th presidential rerun. Apparently, the first batch of the voters, of the ballot papers, are expected in the country tonight at a time when, once again, we don't know whether that election is going to take place after all. So it is a very important day because we do expect to get to listen to the speech by not just the president, but also the opposition leader Raila Odinga. Rashid Ronald is going to link up with us shortly, keeping tabs for us in Kisumu. And at this hour again, we've seen crowds starting gathering at Uhuru Park. We've seen some of the leaders there, including the Senate Speaker Kenneth Lusaka, making his way to Uhuru Park. I've seen Chief Justice David Maraga, the man who has been at the center of attention as far as Kenya's 2017 election is concerned. He's also at Uhuru Park, ready to mark this national celebration. So the question is, what do both Uhuru and Raila have in store for Kenyans today? It's something that we're still waiting. We don't want to speculate. We'll just wait and listen to the speech from both these two leaders at this critical moment in this country. Well, thank you very much for staying with me for the last 2 hours. Of course, this has been News Center right here on KTN News. Many thanks for watching. But remember, the coverage continues right here on KTN News because this is where we're definitely going to give you the whole story. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye for now.